further down the Riverside Grange town that are at severe risk of flooding into the future. They need protecting too. The 23 acres, the Northern Meadows, will protect, soak away, draw up that water, protect our homes and our health. Do I move house because it's at risk of flooding? What kind of stress does that put me and every other resident under? We're here today to highlight the clinical case and ask yet again for an independent clinical review. That is an independent clinical review. 10,000 people signed a petition asking for just this. It was debated in the Senedd and it was a farce. Not once was the clinical model discussed. Simply the views of residents. The clinicians were ignored. The 10,000 people that signed the second round of our campaign were ignored. We're asking Welsh Government to tell the truth and speak the truth, to use the scientific evidence provided by experts in their fields, co-location, not isolation. We are being misled. Welsh Government were misled. Vaughan Gethin allowed himself to be misled. Kind about it. We have a Clatterbridge, new build, co-located cancer care, providing everything for the best cancer care for the future at a significantly smaller price, for under £200 million, built with community support. Our community supports Velindre in every single way. Our community, some of them are employed by Velindre, some of them repeatedly using Velindre's excellent care, services and thanking their staff, but their new build does not and will not provide on-site surgery, intraoperative radiotherapy. The list is long and vast. We requested co-location means that acute emergency services are on hand. Care of the future, and now provides or requires drugs that are potentially have bigger impacts on us. So we may need those acute services. They need to be on hand. We put a freedom of information request to Velindre. They lied about the number of emergency movements that happened in the time we requested. We're here to support Velindre and ask for, we're here to support Velindre with cancer patients with us right now. Yeah, we're right here, and we're asking for the best future cancer care for all of us. That's co-location. That's co-location. Please don't forget me. This centre has been 10 years in the making, in the running. 10 years, developers have not listened to. The evidence is in front of you. 21st century cancer care in Wales should be the best it can be. We support and are supported by cancer patients. We understand this is an emotive issue, but we want the best for all of us, every single one of us. Co-location, as requested by Velindre's own clinicians, is what we need. We want those clinicians to be heard. We want our communities to be heard. There is an open letter from 163 doctors. 163 doctors have signed an open letter. You can read it online. We know this is a motive issue. We're sorry that that's the case, but we want the best decisions for our future. We have a few people that might want to speak. I'll leave the door open if anyone wants to speak. A number of our clinicians that support this have been silenced by Belinda, but by people not willing to listen to the evidence they present. It's time we listen to the experts, both in terms of our future health and the future of Wales. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't expecting to speak, but obviously, as we've just seen, this is a really good and something that I've got a lot of experience in, because when my daughter was little, she had leukemia, and she actually relapsed. Okay, thank you. We were in hospital for a very long time, over many, many years, and at that time, the oncology unit was based the children's oncology unit was based at Llandoch, and we all lived. Okay, yeah. And we had a lovely little community, and then one day we were told that this would move, and it would move to the UHW, and no one likes change, and we didn't really like it, but we were told it was moving to the UHW so that it could be co-located with other services. So I've been really scratching my head over this, wondering why it is that this hospital is being built and such a lot of money is being built. When years ago, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, the children's oncology unit moved to UHW. So that's kind of, my experience. We really needed cancer care for my daughter. Of course, cancer care is absolutely vital, but we need the right kinds of cancer care, and it just seems ludicrous to me that when this decision was taken 10 years ago over children's oncology, that the same model isn't being applied now to adult services. So yeah, that's kind of it from me, really. Just something that I don't feel is ever really talked about or ever is really raised, that we've got a model right here, right now in Cardiff that we should be looking at.
The mic's open, if anyone else would like to speak.
Hi, I've no idea what I'm going to say, and I'm already shaking. I'm here to represent the 163 clinicians who have not been able to have their voices heard, who've been ignored by Senedd and all of our politicians. But I'm here as a patient, former patient of Llandoch Hospital Breast Centre, which is where my cancer was diagnosed, which is where my surgery was carried out, where I had physiotherapy, where I had counselling. The majority of my cancer treatment was at Llandoch Breast Centre. I had to go to Belinda to have chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and that's when my support with my cancer ended with Belinda. I was also treated at UHW. My reconstruction, which is on hold because of COVID, will be in Morrison Hospital in Swansea. I found this really disjointed. I found it quite upsetting that I had to move from place to place when I'd like my treatment to have all been with a wonderful team at the Breast Centre in Llandoch. Since recovering from cancer, I've moved now right next door to the Meadows. I couldn't believe it when my mother told me that that was where the new Belinda was going to be. I discovered the railway line, the cutting. I walked the Meadows most days. I wrote my artwork over there on the Meadows and relaxed with family and friends. The importance of the Meadows became even more apparent during COVID, when thousands and thousands of residents used this to stay sane, to stay outdoors, to listen to birds, to watch the animals, and it's just shocking that in this day, when we know how bad climate change is, that it doesn't matter that it's a cancer centre, it doesn't matter what it is, we should not be taking green space. The clinical argument became apparent last year during our early days of the campaign. My objection has always been on environmental grounds, but now we see actually the true story, and you can see up there the difference and the comparison between what we will have here in South Wales and what will happen in Catterbridge. I know that I have a 12% chance of recurrence of breast cancer and metastatic cancer. I want the future of cancer care in South Wales to be the best in the world, to be the best that it can be, and this does not offer that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've heard a little bit about the 163 senior clinicians that have stood up to fight for better cancer care. I'd like to invite up Lionel, if I could. He's going to tell us a little bit more about exactly what they said and exactly who they are. If the people lying on the floor would like to stand up, you can. Thank you very much for your commitment to vision.
Twitch. Twitch.
Where's Twitch?
It's a platform that allows you to stream to YouTube or so it does them all.
I'm a retired GP. I actually don't live near the Meadows. I live in Canton. But I discovered it on a campaign with Golden Ivy Community to discover the beauty of the place. It is a really, really fantastic green space. It's a natural space. It's not traditionally beautiful, but it's very, 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 very. And not only that, that's not necessarily why I've been called to speak. I've been called to speak to explain to you who the 163 people are.
Streamlabs, Twitch.
The 163 clinicians are all doctors, number one. Number two is they all work with patients with cancer. They are GPs, they are surgeons, they are psychiatrists, they are oncologists, they are radiotherapists. There's a very long list of who the 32 are, but they are not people to be ignored. These are real clinicians with real situations and real doubts. This is a good service.
The business link, but you can't always get them. Sometimes they use the media, sometimes it's not.
Thank you, Lionel. So a lot of all of the 163 senior clinicians have had to stay anonymous, I think by one, for fear of backlash, and that's from some of them that work within Velindre, scared for their jobs, and that's from online trolling and bullying. We've seen a lot of that. But today we've got one of the 163. She's an NHS consultant, and she's been brave enough to step forward and speak here today. So could I please invite up Laura? Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So, if you're listening to this, then we already agree on one point. Arguably, the most important point, and that is that patients with cancer should receive the very best, most easily appropriate and up-to-date care that it is possible to deliver. It is reasonable to assume that this is exactly why those of us engaged in this matter what we wish for. Sadly, people don't feel able to speak openly about their true views on many things these days, but in relation to this specific matter, there is a large group of clinicians who do not feel able to speak up against the Velindre plans through fear of implications for their employment and personal lives. It is deeply saddening to witness because the only reason any of us are here is to do our very best for others. When the initial plans for the new site were conceived over a decade ago,
They were probably appropriate for what was able to be provided at the time. Thankfully, science, medicine and technology have exceeded our expectations, and huge steps have been made in all of these areas. Treatment options and prognoses have radically improved in recent years, and this is a fact we should be immensely proud of. As an intensive care doctor and anaesthetist, the nature of cancer patients I care for has dramatically changed over the course of my career. I have a particular interest in anaesthesia and critical care for patients with malignancy, and it's something that makes up a significant proportion of our workload, and this is increasing as more can be offered to more people. We have increased knowledge of how the conduct of our care impacts on the disease process, and this will continue to evolve, and I look forward to seeing how things continue to progress and inspire me as the years go by. Collectively, we can offer the best all-round care, providing we accept that cancer treatment rarely requires just treatment from an oncologist. In order to support the patient through their disease, access to other services is likely to be needed. Specialist surgical services, interventional radiology, general medicine, intensive care and far more. When we work cohesively within a system, when we communicate well, and when people can transition seamlessly between points of care, the patient experience will inevitably be superior. The current plans for the Velindre site do not offer this. The team at the VCC will be equipped to offer outstanding oncology care